Good day and welcome to Lesson 7 in the Ben and Boz Microsoft Excel video series. I'm Boz.
I'm Ben.
How you doing today, man?
It's a beautiful day in Subtotal, Minnesota.
We're live in Sartell. Well, they won't hear it live, but we're live for us.
We're live right now, though.
We are. So, in this video right here, we're going to be working with a large data set. We're going to have the goals of improving on how to navigate through that data set, learn how to provide summary information using subtotals, and then improve printing skills.
Yeah, so you can see down here with our different actions and descriptions, there's not a ton of shortcuts for these, and I guess you should know there are shortcuts. They're just kind of longer than actually moving over and clicking on it. So really the big one that you can memorize from here is Control-Shift-L to add a filter to a data set, but otherwise we're kind of just showing you where things are and how to do it.
Yeah, sounds good. Filter, and we do that a ton. Sort, and we do that a ton. All right, so a couple huge things we're going to show you. And then subtotaling is another way just to analyze data. A lot of people might do pivot tables instead, but at the same time, just good to know multiple ways of looking at it.
Let's get after it.
Have at it, man.
All right. So here we have a made-up depreciation schedule for 2018. You can see there's a lot of assets here, different types of assets, cost, purchase dates, depreciation. There's a lot of things going on, and if you were to scroll down, you see, there's a lot of data here. So a couple of the navigational things we're going to look at first. One of them is going to be just how to zoom in and out when you're doing this.
I would have thought you would have scrolled down using one of the shortcuts we gave them. Control down arrow key or something like that. Or
well, you miss all the good stuff in the middle when you do that.
Oh, is that what it is?
So
okay.
You see we're at 2 through 19. If we control down, we're at 183. What do you have against 100?
Nothing against it, man. So there was a method in your madness. I see it. I see it.
Absolutely.
All right.
But thanks for the reminder.
No problem.
Appreciate that. We have done navigational skills.
Control
Hopefully
arrow
these
keys.
are pretty slick for you by now, and I guess you're getting used to it. But one of the things, when we did scroll down, I got a little lost down here at the bottom, right? There's a lot of different numbers. I don't know.
It's like, what is that stuff? What is column K? Column K doesn't mean anything to me. Column F?
What's 22,489 for?
Of what?
Of automobile, right?
Yeah.
So one way we can get around that is with freeze panes.
I love freeze panes.
I use this one all the time.
Totally.
So if you want to freeze the panes, usually I go into cell B2 just for the way that I freeze it. Again, there's a variety here. What do you normally use?
Depends on what you're trying to freeze. I think B2 is probably the most common because wherever you freeze the panes, you're going to be freezing everything to the left and then everything above. So, when you go into it first, if you just go, it's in the View tab, right? Isn't that where we find it?
Yep.
So if you go View and Freeze Panes and actually hit that drop-down box, it says freeze the top row. So if all you want to do is freeze the top row, you can go ahead and click that, or freeze the first column. You can just select one of those. Usually, just like you said, I'm usually freezing something both in a column and in a row. So that's
usually you have your identifiers in the first column, and so you want to be able to see those. In this case, we could just freeze the top row, and you see now when I scroll down, I see everything that I need to use.
Yep.
But I think
But go to the right. Show them now. Go to the right when you just did the. Yep, exactly. Right now they don't
disappear.
Yep, they lose that column header. So that's why we usually want to freeze something, both the row header and the column header.
So first I click on freeze panes to get rid of it, and then I can do just this first freeze panes one, and there we go. Now if I scroll down, I can see what the titles are, and if I scroll to the right, I can see the asset numbers. So that's how you freeze panes.
And absolutely do that on anytime you're using a large data set. I was in a consulting meeting last week. We were reviewing a large spreadsheet as a team on a TV monitor someone had plugged into, and they had not frozen the panes.
Really?
And people were guessing and like, what is that number? And I'm just shaking my head, and I eventually said, "Could you just freeze the panes?" And
did they do it?
They did, and
you saved the day.
I guess so, yeah.
Boz saved the day.
Something like that, but very, very relevant.
Yeah, it is extremely. Moving on, another thing we wanted to talk about was just zooming in and out. And so in this case, you can see we can only see 18 different assets right here. But if we wanted to see more, maybe we could zoom out of our spreadsheet a little bit. So there's a variety of different ways. I'm going to use the mouse, or the mouse pad that I'm on, and click on the minus button down here at the bottom. And you see that now I can see more things just because I zoomed out. Now there's a few other ways to do this as well. Boz, do you want to enlighten everyone?
If you actually had one of those, you don't call them a detachable mouse, or you've got an internal mouse, but if you had one of those
old school mouse,
old school a mouse that you'd hold down Control and you could scroll with that mouse and it would zoom in or out if someone has that.
And sometimes on your mouse touchpad, if you just hold Control and with 2 fingers scroll one way or the other, then it works too.
Yep.
Not on the computer I'm using right now, but
yeah, totally. So
something for you to try at home.
Yep. But just quick introduction about how to do a little zooming. Make sure to do that if it can help you see more data.
Now, Boz, there's a lot of different things here, but really I only care about the buildings right now.
Yeah.
So I want to filter this just for the buildings. Can you help me out with that?
Yeah, you know how I usually filter, I'm not as good at this shortcut, but how I normally would do it is I would just go to data. And so go click on
up here
click on data.
Got it.
Yep. And then I just go to filter. And now my filter is there on my first row. But you've taught me this shortcut, and I really need to start applying it a little bit more. So go click on filter again just to take it off. Because what's the shortcut? How should I be doing this?
Yeah, so I actually only started this one a couple of years ago, but it has changed my life for the better.
Wow. Wow.
Maybe not that extreme, but it is. It is a lot faster. Where what I like to do now, Shift Space just to highlight the whole row, and then Control Shift L, it adds the filter for me. So Control Shift and L all at once. You can see there's an extra column here that has the filter on there. If that bugs you or you don't like that, I'm just gonna hit Control Z to undo everything. You could just highlight exactly what you want to filter, all the titles, using the Control and Shift key, and then hit Control Shift L, and you get the same thing.
That's awesome. I'm going to start trying to do that more. You can check on me when you come visit me in my office. See if I'm doing it.
I will.
But now I know what you do when you want to use it. You would then go to the asset type in cell B1, and you'd go to that drop-down box, and you'd first, if you only want to select one thing, then you usually click to select all, so that like defaults by unselecting them all, and then you would go to whichever one that you just wanted to do. As you say, building.
Yeah, but I'm feeling automobiles now.
Click on automobiles and then click OK. You know,
and now the only asset type is automobiles.
Yep. And if you wanted just 2 of them, you know, you could go click on that filter again, automobiles, and whatever other one you want.
Equipment. Let's say.
Now it's okay, and there's a lot of
equipment mixed in there and everything.
There's a ton of things you can do in there. When you're filtering, you can use that to customize it. You can put some colors in there as well. But
you can filter by certain text or certain numbers if you want to do like greater than or less than. Sure. There's really a bunch of different options in here, and I just recommend when you're looking at it to.
How about the sort option?
Let's do that.
We do like
that was another goal for this one.
Yep.
Both Boz and I use this all the time. First, I'm going to select everything and just hit OK. And you can see that these are all listed by asset number, which is fine. It's probably the order they purchased the assets.
Yep.
Well, it's not, but just listed by asset number.
I'll play with you.
Yeah, Thank you. Yeah. But you see they're not in order. So
I want to sort it by asset type.
By asset type?
Exactly.
All right. Well, there's a couple different ways. We already have the filter here. So I'm just going to click on the drop down. You want to go A to Z or Z to A?
I'd like A to Z.
A to Z.
Default usually easier on me.
Yep. So, there you go. So automobiles come first, and if we scroll down, you see buildings come next, and then if we scroll down some more, we see computers, and it's all in alphabetical order.
Yep. Now we can do that as well. Take the filter off for a second. So if you did is it just Control Shift L? Would that take the filter off too, I imagine?
Yep.
Yep. So that takes it off. Now just, I usually highlight the whole data set. So with a Control A, what I would use to highlight the whole data set. And now go Data Sort.
Up here in the data ribbon, the sort section.
The sort,
here.
And click that one. Go ahead and click it once. Now, if we only want to sort by one item, and that's what we're going to do, let's, you see in the upper right, it says my data has headers, and it does have headers. Now go sort by, let's do B, let's do the asset type. And this, so we can show it does something differently, let's go Z to A within the order. Before you click OK, just so people know, and we're not going to do it today, but you can add levels here, and you can sort by colors as well. But adding levels, sometimes I sort by 4 or 5 columns. So maybe first I want the automobiles, and then I want a subset within the automobiles. But for this simplistic one, we can just do this, and then just go ahead and click OK.
All right. Click OK, and there you go. Sorted Z to A, furniture first, then equipment, computer.
Totally.
So on. So you can sort A to Z. One last thing that I would say here, if you wanted to sort a dollar amount, there you can also do largest to smallest, smallest to largest. We say A to Z, but it applies, like I just did smallest to largest. and you see this is our lowest cost item, and then down to the highest cost.
Exactly. So
let's move on to subtotals.
Well, and it's funny. So if we're going to do a subtotal, the first thing we need to do is sort it. So let's go ahead and sort it by the asset type again.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, and then now if you want to subtotal it, I used to use these a lot. I think pivot tables usually are better, but it's still good to know how to do this.
At least so you know.
Yep, I'd highlight the whole data set with a Control A, and then data. And
data ribbon, we're still
data
in there,
ribbon.
And then you see subtotal over here on the right.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of options here, just like you did with the different ways of sorting.
Yep.
We don't really care about changes in asset number.
Correct.
I care about changes in asset type.
Exactly.
Because we're sorted based on asset type. So what we want to do then is every time we change asset type, let's start with the sum. That's the default.
Yeah.
We could do a lot of different things.
Let's do a sum of everywhere where it's got a dollar amount. So
Sure.
like sum of the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, depreciation per month is a dollar
Sure.
amount, right?
Yep.
Accumulated depreciation, carrying value.
Yep.
You see you can scroll up here.
Let's do cost, yeah.
Cost.
Just kind of those are good.
Those are good, right?
Yeah.
Asset number wouldn't give us anything
Nope,
that's really
that wouldn't make
meaningless.
sense. Depreciation life wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. So if we hit OK here,
Looks like nothing's changed other than it bumped over, but wait until...
scroll down just a little bit.
Yep.
Automobile total. There it is. So now we know the total cost of all of our automobiles, total depreciation per month on those, accumulated depreciation, and the carrying value.
And right now we're in the 1 view on the upper left with the subtotal. If you change it to the 2 view, go ahead and click on the 2. There you're going to see all your subtotals together. So that's kind of an easy way to see it. If for whatever reason all you needed is the grand total, go ahead and click on the 3.
I think it's the 1 actually.
Is it the 1 is the... Okay, 1's the grand total.
3 shows everything. It's the
everything.
most level of detail.
Yep.
2 shows just the subtotals that we have, different asset types.
And 2 is normally what I use. That's why I'm subtotaling.
Yeah, where you could just hide all the details there. And if, for example, you wanted just the details of automobiles, you could go over and hit the plus sign there, and you can see all the automobiles, whereas every other subtotal will just be right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get rid of that subtotal, and then we'll look at printing. So just data, and then hit subtotal again, and then the lower left of this pop-up box, hit remove all.
There you go.
What?
All right. So last thing, we talked about printing a little bit earlier. Now, if we want to print again, we're going to show you a couple things. One, you have this large data set here, and we saw how helpful it was to freeze panes. This is obviously going to go over onto multiple pages. So what we can do is set what's called print titles, meaning these titles or these headers will show up on every single page that we print. So to do that, you go to page layout.
Can you just hit, is there a preview? Hit a print preview quick on this one. I mean, and then that looks okay, but now scroll down. I mean, you would never want to hand this into someone, right? So, I mean, that's just sloppy. It's those later pages. It's like, what is that information?
Absolutely. So one thing that we can do, and there's a few, but one thing that we can do is use those print titles on this page layout. You see here on the, or I guess right in the middle, it says print titles and rows to repeat at top. I'm going to click in that box. Print area, we're going to set that a different way. It's what I usually do anyway. Rows to repeat at top though, I'm just going to click on anywhere in row number 1 and that'll highlight everything. So I could do it with columns if I wanted to. We just want rows for right now. And if I go to print preview then, you'll see that now as I go to those different pages, the top still has everything that I need.
Yeah. And then probably the final thing that you do, and we've taught them this one before, is we would change the, go to page setup, click on page setup now that you're in there. You could do it within print titles actually, so go back to your print titles, and then now go to the far left sheet page, and now I would change that one. As opposed to adjust to 100% size, I'd adjust it down to, say, maybe 80% size or something like that.
Oh, do you normally adjust it that way?
I sometimes do.
Interesting.
What do you
I
do?
usually go fit to
one
page
but look,
wide by however many tall.
Oh, interesting.
And
So
then just put a number that I know it's going to be taller than that.
we learned something.
Yeah.
So wow.
You can do it either way. Let's try 80% and then do print preview here. And you see we have carrying value and we're down to 4 pages. That's good. What I like about usually actually just right in here. Sometimes I go to fit all columns on one page.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can do under page setup. I see that I'm actually at 82%.
Yeah, that's
so I could make it as big as possible while it still fits on one page.
I like that. I'm gonna see if I can apply that one. But
hey, they both work.
They
right?
do.
That's kind of the deal here.
So. And maybe the final thing, if you just go ahead and click OK once, and if we look at it, maybe we would want to break after the automobiles. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to actually just breaking the way that one of us did right there, maybe we want the break after the automobiles, after asset type. So just go ahead and I think escape to get out of this one. And just the last goal is to add a page break in here. Scroll down to the bottom of the automobiles.
Computer's being a little slow right now.
A little slow there, so but we'll get down to the
must be a pretty big data set.
Totally. So but
there
at the bottom of the automobiles, click, and I would click in cell A42 and then insert. Actually, we just go page layout. And then there's a break in there, right? So
there.
And a break. Yep, insert page break. And I think now do a print preview on this one. We certainly could. And now it's just going to cut off after the autos. And, and if you're just trying to do this, we could have done a page break after each of the assets. So, but I think people get the idea.
All right. There we go.
Did we cover it all?
Let's take a look back on our summary page here. So now you know how to freeze panes, zoom in and out, adding a filter, sort the data in a variety of different ways, put in some subtotals if you need and work with those, and then just a couple printing things on titles and page breaks. So
I think we hit it.
I think we nailed it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Cheers.